Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here this evening. My name is Dalton Glasscock, and I'm Chair of the District 4 Advisory Board. Again, I would like to welcome you and thank you for being here for this meeting. If you're willing, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion and a second for the approval of tonight's agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Wally,
Second.
second by Becky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, approval of minutes, they were sent via email to everybody on the board. Can I get a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And this time by Wally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, we'll start with staff reports and then we'll set the ground rules. I imagine we have a lot of people speaking tonight, so I think this is the biggest room we've had yet this year. So thank you for being here. We'll start with Wichita Fire Department.
Good evening. There is quite a few people here. So I'll keep it short and sweet because it looks like you guys have a lot to go over tonight. Month of July, kind of covering the month of July incidents and action plans, everything that we did. There was a total of 3 incidents in this district, fire wise. And in those fires, basically, we had all 3 of them were house fires. Well, 2 house fires, 1 was a shed fire. Really kind of standard, accidental on all 3 natures, nothing too much to really investigate. Pretty straightforward. July was a hot, dry month. 4th of July obviously played into the factor a little bit, but for having 3 incidents, that's pretty common for summertime month. So I'll keep it pretty quick and simple. Is there any questions for the fire department?
Any questions for the board first? Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and go down to the other DAB meeting this night. So thank you.
Sounds good.
for everything.
We'll do Wichita Police Department, east or what, or west or south, whichever one.
Hello, everybody. I'm Officer Cass. I'm with the Patrol South Bureau. It is nice seeing everybody here tonight. I bring statistics every month so that we kind of know what's going on in our area. The one thing that I just want to touch on is that statistically all of our crimes are down for our area, which is a very good thing, except for larcenies to autos. I know a couple apartment complexes, the South Bureau were hit pretty hard. It wasn't, they just got broken. Stuff was left out. It wasn't even attributed to cars being left unlocked, which is usually a big indication. Windows were actually just busted out on these because they left bags out in the open. So that's all I'm going to talk about. Statistics. One of the things that I discussed over the weekend at the DAB for community breakfast was still we're addressing street racing, motorcycles, popping wheelies, a lot of those road and driving violations that we see on a common basis during the summer. Been working with a lot of businesses to where in order to help try to prevent the gathering of them, getting trespass affidavits on file, parking affidavits on file to where we can cite and prevent them from showing up there. So that's some of the things that we're mainly working on the South Bureau. Baum, do you have anything from the west side that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think it's on the west side.
So, questions?
Board?
We have any second chance Thursdays coming up?
September is what we're looking at. Don't know the date yet for that, but we do find out. I'll let you guys know.
Any questions from the public? Okay, see none. Thank you both.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your
Thank you
time.
for coming. Library report. I thought I saw you walk in.
Hello, I'm Lena. I'm the children's librarian here at the Alfred branch and the Walters branch. I have the library report this month. Our circulation was 3,548 items checked out during August and 5,010 visits during August. We have our local author days coming up on Saturday, August 12th. It'll be at the Advanced Learning Library, and we have a writer's panel in the morning at 10:30 a.m. and I actually have all 3 books by the authors. So we're gonna have, these are checked in right now, except for this one is checked out. But people can learn about like their publishing journeys and their books that they wrote. And then we're also having from 2 to 4 a local author expo, which had 100 authors and filled up like within a couple days with the waiting list. So that's a good way to meet local authors, and there's children's and adult authors, all genres. They'll have books available for sale and do like signings and stuff and talk about their experiences and advice for aspiring authors and then just fans. Should be really fun. And then the library is also partnering with Exploration Place for Maker Fair Wichita on Saturday, August 26th. It's a family-friendly showcase for invention, creativity, celebration of the maker movement. Exploration Place and the Advanced Learning Library will both be hosting makers showing off their works and their skills. And there will be food trucks and then live music also at the library with a new musical group every 30 minutes from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then let's see, Friends of the Library will be hosting a bag sale Saturday, August 26th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Advanced Learning Library. If you bring a friend's bag, you can fill it for $5. So it's a really good deal if you want e-books. You can purchase a bag at the sale and fill it for $10. The Friends Advocate preview is Friday, August 26th, 5 to 6:30 p.m. So an advocates get like a sneak peek at the books, get the best stuff. Information about becoming an advocate is available at wichitalibraryfriends.org. And then reliable broadband internet connects us to the world and keeps the wheels of our economy rolling. I wanted to ask if you could please take a few minutes of your time to keep our community at the forefront by taking a speed test at broadbandkansas.com. And this will help ensure everyone in Wichita has equal access to information and other things they need. All right, that's all I have for the library report.
Awesome. Any questions from the board? Okay, any questions from the public for the library? Thanks for letting us be here every month.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Public Works and Utilities. And I have interim city engineer Paul Gentleman.
Yes, yep, that's close enough. Thank you. I'll go over a few of the pavement preservation projects we have going on. Pavement repairs are in progress. Some of these might be updated a little bit, but and then overlay on McLean Boulevard will begin soon. I want to highlight the brick crosswalk repair coming down towards that Maple and Maze. That will begin in August. That contractor has been working on he had done some crosswalk repair on the northeast part of town. I believe he's out at Kellogg and Armour at this time, but they are working their way towards the west side. Go down to the South Lake Pickleball Flaps. That project had been approved by City Council. Design has been moving forward. We do have an agreement going to City Council next week to do an acoustical study for the pickleball pickleplex. We'll get the results of that and continue with the design of that. We are still hoping to begin construction later this fall. I will cover Douglas, Seneca, and Meridian in a later presentation. West Street, we've got a couple West Street projects that are under design at this time. The West Street from I-235 to 47th Street, we're working through design. We had met with the consultant late last week to discuss some of the drainage design along that project. And then the following project from West Street from Harry to Pawnee. We are nearing completion of right-of-way acquisition. We still have one parcel that we are negotiating with at this time, and that is the McDonald's. The Prairie Sunset Trail, Chisholm Trail, that project is, we are anticipating, well, we do have some right-of-way acquisition for that project as well that is working through, and we anticipate office check plans for that project to be submitted later this month. The Keeler Lake, Brightwater Bay, K 42, that's near K 42 and I-235. We're working with KDOT on that project to finalize some signal equipment as well as some lighting. And we are anticipating final plans to be submitted later this month as well for that project. Moving down to Kellogg and Ridge interchange improvements, we had submitted that project to do some improvements planning study for a raise grant application. We were notified that the project was not selected for this round. I will be asking for a debriefing of what we can do better for the application so that, and then we will determine if we want to resubmit for the next round of project funding. We did receive some funding for that project. I think just a little over $2 million. So I think we'll go ahead and see what we can move forward with that to begin the planning study for that area. And that funding is available. The multimodal facility that will be located at Riverfront, just west of Riverfront Stadium, we had received 90% plans for that project. The consultant is moving towards 100% plans to be probably submitted. I met with them late last week. That'll probably be pushed back a little bit. And then I have a meeting with our Metropolitan Area Building Department tomorrow, Wednesday, to discuss plan submittal and if we can begin submitting the 90% plans for their review instead of waiting until we get the 100% plans. We'll have that discussion with them Wednesday and see if we can get some plans then to begin review. I imagine it'll take them 45 days to review. We have a couple KDOT projects we're working on. One of them is East Kellogg and the other is K96 that design is moving forward with those. Still under construction and it's making progress. In middle of July, they had replaced or installed some bridge beams over I-135. So the I-135 was closed for a couple days as they did northbound and southbound, but those are up. So that project keeps moving forward, having that ramp up is a great thing. So that is my update. I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? Thank you. I'm glad that we've added these to the agenda. Yeah.
We do them.
Reports.
Yeah, we'll do them quarterly and then it'll be the third month of the quarter or the middle month of the quarter. So we'll be back in November unless you have something else for us.
We get more questions about that in depth and probably police or fire supply.
Okay, yeah, great.
Any questions from the public?
I saw the Prairie Sunset
Yes.
project that was wrote from Sycamore to Exposition. It overlaps with the Douglas to Meridian part. Are they being coordinated?
They are.
Okay.
Okay. They are.
I got a couple questions and it doesn't really tie into this, but it kind of does. I got a bunch of moles in my front yard and my water meter has sunk because the ground's come up. And I've heard that there's a list that you can come out, get on, and the city will come out, and I think they just put a piece of plastic on top of it and backfill around it. Do you know anything about that?
No, but I can check into that.
Dial 268-4555, and then they can put you on the list.
268-4555.
And I believe that's the number, and that they just tell them that your thing's sunk, and they come out and they can jack it up and they'll fill in, but I think you're in charge of.
Because
doing
it gets
restoration.
covered, and if you have to turn off your water, you may be out there looking for it for a while.
They jack it up so that I don't think they cover it up.
And the other one is I have a question about is the lawn height of yards before the city gets involved. My ex-sister-in-law got a letter and she's 70 years old, all crippled up. And she got a letter from an inspector saying that if she didn't get her yard mowed, the city was gonna come out and mow it. But as I drive around town, I see several large lots that are owned by some of the developers. that the grass is 3 or 4 foot high. So my question is, are they supposed to live by the same laws as the rest of us?
They are.
And if they are, do the inspectors ever leave their offices? And if they do, why can't they go by and say, oh, I better check into that?
You know, I think a lot of those complaints go to, I think they're considered tall grass and weeds, and that is through the Metropolitan Area Building Department, MABCD. And I don't know if that's based on complaints, and then they go out and look at it, because I know a couple of occasions that I've been involved with recently. There was one kind of in the Midtown area, and then on South Greenwich Road, where they had sent a lot of letters to the property owners to maintain the right of way due to the tall weeds and grass, but I believe it's based on complaints. So, but I could get with MABCD and find out.
Well, I mean, like I
I
said,
believe it's over 12 inches. I think.
she can't mow, so she has to hire mow. And it really wasn't that bad. And then I go across Meridian between the 2 trailer courts over there, and there's grass that high. And you go on down, or on MacArthur, you go on down, and there's a lot, it just appears to me like we have one rule for the residents, but if you're a developer, well, we can fudge on you.
Well, I'm sure that's.
And Dalton, I know every time I come in here, I'm griping about
Hey,
it. and
I'm
I
glad you come.
apologize. But these are just things that I noticed, and they just kind of work me up in a way. I have become my dad. You know, it's kind of personal, and if it's a rule for me, it should be a rule for everybody.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
This really isn't a question, but if we're gonna have meetings, do you mind putting the speaker up there facing us where his sound comes this way? Cause it's hard to hear the last librarian I heard pretty well, but him and the other one, when they're talking to you, we can't hear them that well.
Yeah, we'll talk to
So
Brooke
if you
about that
could
in the future.
Move them where they can face you and he's facing us and the sound comes this way, it would be.
Yeah.
To me, better for us. I don't know if anybody else couldn't hear him very good, but I haven't been able to hear several of them.
We'll look at that. Yeah, I know, we historically had a microphone here and the sound in this room's had a lot of problems recently, so. But thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, I think it'd still be better even if he had a microphone, if he's facing us instead of having his back to us.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, and for any other speaker, we'll keep it this setup today. Just make sure to project so people can hear the rest of the room. So, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the public agenda. We do have one item on the public agenda already set, so we'll hop over to that. I'll set the ground rules. So this is if you are not speaking on something that is already on the agenda. So this is something completely separate that we're not going to be talking about under new business. If you didn't get one of these, there should be enough in the back. And this is more people than we normally have. So hopefully we didn't run out. If so, we'll try and print some more. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Because we have a pretty packed room, we'll keep it at that limit and be ready to answer questions from the board as well. So I'll go over their guidelines again here in a minute, but we'll start with our scheduled public agenda item, and that's for Medic All. Ian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ayan Parikh. I'm a senior at Wichita Collegiate High School. And over like the past couple of years, I've been working to develop this nonprofit called Medic All. Essentially, what the basis of this idea is we're leveraging telemedicine to make healthcare more accessible for everyone. So right now, around 40% of low-income individuals, they don't have adequate access to healthcare systems, and that's for a host of reasons. Free clinics, though they do exist, they're pretty scarce and they're a very limited resource, so it's pretty hard to get access to those free clinics. And in addition, there are obviously normal clinics that exist, but a large majority of those are now privatized, and as a result, it's harder for a lot of low-income individuals to actually get access to those healthcare facilities. So obviously, there are a host of barriers that might prevent someone from getting adequate access to healthcare, whether that be geographic barriers because they're very far away from a free clinic, whether that be financial barriers because they can't afford it, whether that be documentation barriers. They're essentially a host of barriers that prevent someone from even entering the healthcare systems. And as a result, it's pretty hard for them to kind of even become regular in and kind of enforce that retention into normal healthcare systems. And as a result, a large majority of low-income individuals, they don't get access to adequate healthcare. We can skip this slide. Awesome. So this is kind of the basis of the nonprofit. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate as many barriers to accessible and free healthcare as we possibly can. So a patient, our kind of barrier right now is 200% below the poverty line, and they can be insured or non-insured. So essentially, such an individual, they can go onto our website, medicallhealth.org. It's on the screen right there. They can go onto the website, they can click book a consultation, and with that, they can schedule an appointment. So right now we have 4 types of consultations. We have mental health consultations, symptom-based consultations, general checkups, and fitness and health consultations. So they can choose which type of consultation they want. Then once that happens, they can go onto their computer, their phone, whatever it might be, and they can actually attend that meeting. And after that, based on whatever the healthcare professional, whatever they decide, they can receive medication, get referred to tests, whatever it might be. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain a certain level of continuity of care for such individuals. So this is just the same thing in a bit more detail. So this is the 4 types of consultations we have. And then obviously we've done pretty extensive research with areas in Kansas, rural and metropolitan areas. And with that, we've come up with some pretty nice response rates. 82% of the people that we kind of interviewed said that they would benefit from such a service. And these are I'll kind of end with this, but these are our partners that we have kind of worked with over this since we started. So I won't go through all of them, but essentially we have the in-person interaction. So those people would include who we're referring to kind of get those prescriptions, those medical tests, all those sort of things. Then we have healthcare professionals. So as I mentioned, we have those 4 types of consultations ranging from symptom-based to even mental health and fitness and health. So we kind of have partners that match each of those needs. And then of course for our distribution, kind of who we're referring to, who is referring to us, how are we getting essentially our patients? That is what this last column is. So with that being said, kind of what we're doing now is we're in a pretty limited soft launch. So just areas in Wichita, we're kind of pushing out our services to those communities. And then once we kind of have proof of concept in this area, then we're planning on expanding to Kansas and hopefully other states and even hopefully international in the future as well. So if you guys know anyone who might benefit from this service, or someone who would be willing to volunteer, whether it be a mental health expert, whether they be a personal trainer, or whether they be a physician, a nurse, whatever it might be, all these individuals, if that does sound something that would be beneficial, then you can either go to our website, medicallhealth.org. I think our last slide has some pretty nice information there. Right here. So you can go to our website, or if you have any questions, you can go to info@medicallhealth.org or call me at that number. That same information is provided on those sheets. So yeah, I'd love to answer questions.
Questions from the board?
I know it said that you only see patients that are 200% below,
That would
up
probably,
to 200%
yeah.
of poverty level. Do you have plans in the future to add like maybe a sliding scale fee for people who might be above 200% but still don't have employer sponsored?
Yeah, for sure. So that's definitely part of our phase 2 plan, kind of expanding that sliding scale. In terms of a revenue model right now, it's just grants and donations. But another kind of thing we're planning on exploring is white labeling. So essentially selling a license to our service to other organizations, other companies who are serving a similar population. But definitely in the future, in the long term future, we definitely plan on working towards that sliding scale.
The questions from the board? None. Any from the public?
Thank you for coming to Wichita.
course,
We
yeah.
have a lot of people that need that kind of help,
Mhm.
and the more people we get to help them, till we can get them jobs that pay a decent wage.
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised here, so kind of seeing that need, it's been pretty, and coming with the service, it's been pretty rewarding, talking to people and presenting it, kind of seeing how they're able to benefit. So
yard ever fruits.
So the people that you refer people to, once they've had their initial appointment, they can refer to further testing. Are those people also all volunteering their services? It's all still at no cost?
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, we partnered with like free clinics, FQHCs, which are federally qualified health centers. Project Access, I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that, but we kind of refer to them. It's the same thing of your free service for tests and all that. So yeah, anyone that we refer to is gonna, and even prescriptions, we keep that free service.
Wow. Thank you. Fantastic presentation. Thanks for joining us today as well.
Thank you so much, everyone.
For sure. Okay, we will move on. Again, we're doing off agenda items. So this is if you don't have something to say about something on the board, you have 3 minutes now. Please state your name and address for the record, if there's anybody. Not, we'll move on to the discussion items. We'll start with new business, and that's the Douglas Avenue from Seneca Street to Meridian Avenue project update and Public Works and Utilities. Presenting us.
All right, I'm Paul Gunzelman, interim city engineer again. And I know this board had heard this project in June. We are bringing it back with a little bit more information for consideration again. Again, the project is on Douglas Street between Seneca and Meridian. It's a 1 mile section of roadway. Go on down the road. And this project, next slide, please. Sorry.
You can go up to the
Yeah.
little television thing.
This, there we go. So again, it's that red line. The Seneca is on the east and Meridian is on the west side, west end of that project. Next slide. This project has been in development for quite some time. It first was listed in the 2001 Delano Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. Again, it was within the 2015 Community Investments Plan. And again, updated when Delano Neighborhood Plan was updated in 2019. The 2001 Delano Neighborhood Revitalization Plan, as you look at the map, this is really in the mile is broken into 3 different sections or unique zones. Towards the Seneca side is, commercial and mixed use, transitioning in the middle, in a transition area. And then at the west end of the mile is more residential. Slide. Zooming in a little bit, the Delano plan had called for streetscaping along this corridor, additional sidewalk widths throughout here. And then as you can see, that green strip there along Douglas was the street trees, keeping in tune with those. Next slide. The 2001 Delano Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. Again, this is the zoning that's there. You can see commercial to the east, transitioning there where the railroad tracks are to in the blue with institutional, and then the yellow is residential. And you do see a little bit of red or commercial there towards Meridian as well. Next slide. The 2015 Communities Investment Plans, you can see the Delano plan was referenced in that document as well. Slide. And then, as I mentioned before, Delano neighborhood plan, when it was updated in 2019, it had identified funding sources for local match for the streetscape project and maintaining the streetscape project status and existence in the capital improvement program. This project was also elected by recognized by the city's design council. Each year when we do the CIP, the design council looks at the projects within the capital improvement project program and identifies projects that are special considerations. This project was selected by the design council as a special consideration project. And they saw that as an opportunity for developing art and a gateway to the Delano district. The Plan also stated to extend the existing identifiable Delano Commercial District to the west through an updated streetscape on Douglas Avenue from Seneca to Vine Street, which would include wider sidewalks, street trees, landscaping, benches, trash bins, Delano branded bicycle racks, lighting, transit stops, public art, and other pedestrian amenities. Next slide. The project was programmed into the capital improvement program in 2018. In 2020, project was submitted to the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for consideration to be included in the region's transportation improvement program. Communities within the region may submit projects for consideration. Project selection committee reviews the projects that are submitted, and this project ranked above some of the others and was identified to receive funding through WAMPO in 2022. It was programmed into TIP in 2022. Project selection factors included improving safety, economic development, existing infrastructure, and any projects that include the multimodal elements. The city council approved the design contract with WSP in July 2022. In August of 2022, there was initial stakeholder information meeting held. And then there was 2 public open houses, one on September 15th and one on October 26th, 2022. We took the project to the Wichita Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board in April of 2023. At that time, they had asked us to look at other alternatives, design options for cyclist safety. We have presented a separated bicycle area, cycle track, and then with travel lanes and parking on one side of the street. They asked us to look at a different option for that. With the number of driveways there, I don't believe they thought the cycle track was the best option. We had developed, or WSP had developed the concept that you had seen in June, and you'll see again tonight. That was presented May 8th to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board, and they approved the proposed concept. As you can see in this photo, the existing conditions, we have a pretty wide street area or a green space there between the sidewalk and the back of curb. As you can see, you can see some vehicles parked along the street there. As you're eastbound or westbound, however you're traveling the opposing direction, you don't, most folks don't know whether you drive it as 1 lane or 2 lanes without parking on the street. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And then this is towards Seneca. As you can see, we start introducing the pavement markings to identify the lanes of travel. As you are eastbound, as you are westbound, as you get west of Seneca, the skip white fades out. And then it's a wide drive aisle for, allow on-street parking. We have heard in the past from folks that they don't know whether to drive this as a 1 lane each direction or 2 lanes. So we are hoping to clean that up with this project.
There used to be markings for 2 lanes, but the paint's been gone for years. Why
We'll
don't we go ahead and
we'll
repaint?
save comments until after the presentation. Thank you, though.
Next slide. Also within this area, we have noted some uneven sidewalks. With the proposed project, we will provide wider sidewalks with the project. They're right now, they're between 4 and 5 feet. We propose to widen to 6 feet. That has been our standard probably for 20 years, to go with 6-foot wide sidewalk. Again, that it's more pedestrian friendly, and a couple can walk side by side, or parent and jog and walk side by side. And if you meet somebody along the sidewalk on the opposite direction, you have a area to pass without stepping into the grass. So we will address some of the unevenness of the sidewalk and make it wider. At the June meeting, I wasn't here, but I think there was a question about Maple Street. We have looked at the counts at that, and the counts are pretty similar. There's 8,500 vehicles on Douglas between Seneca and Meridian, and there is about 8,800 on Maple between Seneca and Meridian. We have the current CIP, or the adopted CIP 2023 through 2032 at Maple Street. It's programmed in the CIP, Maple Street between Seneca and Meridian, to begin design in 2029 and construction in 2031. As we have developed the proposed CIP that the City Council will take action on, I believe, August 22nd, we have proposed to move that project up and extend the project to the river. It's engineering's recommendation. We believe that project, and it is shown if you look at the proposed CIP that the City Council will take action on. Maple, Seneca, like to go from McLean to Meridian, as there is a big drainage impact to that project. But it is programmed to begin design in 2027, construction in 2029. So we're able to fund them a couple years earlier. Throughout this corridor, this is some crash history for the last from 2019, 2020, and 2021. You can see there's a number of crashes throughout the corridor, and they are at various locations throughout the corridor as well. Next slide. So the proposed concept, we are proposing a 3-lane roadway with on-street parking, and then shared lane use markings for the cyclists. The center left turn lane, we believe it will provide a place for those vehicles turning left into the over 100 access points or driveways within this corridor to get them out of the through lane. The curb extensions at the intersections, as you can see there, and that's similar to what we have downtown between on Douglas, between Main and St. Francis. So we will narrow the intersections there for Douglas and create a space or identify the space for people or vehicles to park. Narrowing the intersections there or adding the curb extensions, we also believe will act as traffic calming, slow vehicles down. Currently, the speed limit is posted at 35 miles per hour. With these curb extensions, we are designing this to be 30 miles per hour when the project is completed. The speed limit east of Seneca is 30 miles per hour, and west of Seneca is 35. So we would extend that 30 miles per hour to Meridian. Project will also replace the pavement. It will include improved storm sewers. The trees that you had seen in the photos before, we are wanting to retain those, salvage as many of those as we can. There are a few that, as you also saw in the picture, that are conflicting with the existing sidewalk, so those would probably need to be removed. However, we would go back with some trees to replace what has been removed, although, taking out a large tree, but with small one, but we will replace what was there. Again, the green space that you had seen in a previous photo pretty much remains the same width. It'll only be increased at the intersection where the curb extensions are. Next slide. And this shows the example of a curb extension I mentioned before. Although this is all sidewalk, but it would be some green space, but this does identify where vehicles are to park. Next slide. To the gentleman's question regarding the Delano Prairie Travelers Bicycle Path, this, we are coordinating with it. Phase 1 of the Delano Path will take the existing where it ends now, near Osage, and extend it to Exposition. And then phase 2 of the project will have on-street markings down Exposition. We will widen the sidewalk along the north side of Douglas to Martinson, and then cross the cyclists there at the west side of Martinson as a proposal. They would be on the sidewalk to Elizabeth Street, and then they would be on street south of that, extending down past the universities all the way out to the Prairie Sunset Trail near Kellogg and Cooper Road. The again, where this signalized crosswalk is, that is existing, we're moving it a little bit. And we are discussing some raised intersections at these signalized crosswalks, similar to what we have done in Old Town, as well as on McLean there, adjacent to Riverfront Stadium. So again, that will slow traffic down as well. Next slide. The pavement marking there at Seneca and Douglas will, the lane configuration will pretty much remain as it is now. We do have 2 eastbound lanes. The outside lane will be forced right at Exposition, with the inside lane continuing west to Meridian. As you are eastbound, we introduce the right turn lane as it is now. We have the through movement as well as the left turn lane to go north. And then this is the proposed concept at Meridian, again, where we have 1 eastbound lane. And then we have the 3 lanes westbound. So we have the right turn lane, a through lane, and a left turn lane, dedicated left turn lane. As I mentioned before, the project is programmed in the current, for the adopted CIP for construction in 2024. Have about $5 million for the full mile. The project is funded by federal funds through WAMPO as well as local sales tax, and we have about $3.9 million federal funding for the project. The next steps will be to present to the August 22nd, 2023 City Council meeting. And then the recommended action is to approve the design concept. And then I will stand for questions.
Since we've heard this before, are there any pressing questions for the board? Otherwise, I'll move back to the public. So any pressing questions, John?
I'm new.
Okay, yeah, ask away.
You got a slew for me.
Okay.
Sure. Can you go back to any one of the maps that show a street with green? Perfect, that's fine. Is that new grass or?
No, Rick, if you could go back to
I
one
don't
of the.
care which, is it new or
Well,
it's my question.
It will probably be new grass once we're done with
Who
construction.
maintains that? Resident, the
The
landlord?
residents will maintain it as they do now, and you can see how wide it is now.
That's fine.
So, okay.
It's one thing the city doesn't have to worry about. Okay,
Okay.
next question. Your funding, you've got 5.6 million is the total cost,
It was just at 5 million, I think, just a little under,
so 5 million.
and 3.9 is of that is federal funding.
Okay, so 1.1 city fund.
Yes.
Where are we coming out of that? How
That
are we-
is the local sales tax funding.
Okay, Maple, serious issue. This is largely cosmetic. Benches, trees, grass, some versus a flooding issue.
This will improve drainage along Douglas. the
But
pavement-
largely it's cosmetic. Would you agree?
There is some pavement failures. It will improve drainage, but the Maple Street project associated with that Maple Street project is a large storm sewer.
Versus
that-
this is largely cosmetic, I would say.
Well, and it's a smaller drainage
Okay,
that
so
we need.
my question is, why couldn't you take, well, and I know you can, so don't say you can't. Why couldn't you take the federal funds that are earmarked for this and put it into Maple Street?
So we submitted the Douglas project to the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. How that funding works, they program. It's a 4-year program. And I believe so we look at the projects that are within the next 4 years on the capital improvement program. We submit those to be considered for, if we think they would score well in scoring criteria, we submit those to be considered. Maple Street was programmed so far out in CIP.
Right.
That it wasn't, we didn't submit it. And it's got, I don't want you to gloss over the large drainage component with that. And usually the drainage components, that large of one is funded by our stormwater utility. And there isn't funding for that at this time. We are.
I get
money's
that.
concentrated on.
What I'm looking at is a $12 million to $25 million budget shortfall within the next 3 to 5 years. And you want to spend money on designer benches, grass, and lighting.
And pavement.
I'm
improvements
sorry,
and stuff.
But every person
Well-
in this, I'm talking, every person in this room is looking at a property tax increase if they don't retain the revenue neutral rate on their property taxes, which they're not gonna take. So every single person sitting in here is gonna have their property taxes go up. I don't want my property taxes going up for designer benches in Delano. I wouldn't mind if they're necessarily gonna have to go up in order to fix flooding down Maple, which has happened for decades. But now you're saying you're gonna put this off till 2031, so we can have pretty new benches in Delano. For me, you better not raise my property taxes to put grass and benches in
So,
Delano.
let me-
I don't need an answer.
I want to address a couple things. We are, you misunderstood me. We are moving the project from 2031 to Maple Street to 2029. That's our proposal.
Okay,
The other option
many,
is-
how much flooding will occur between then and now? And you're hoping to move it till then. What happens if that budget shortfall does come in as bad as it is? And then they go, oh, boy, we can't afford it in 2029. We're gonna put it off another year and another year. And then there's another mayoral election and somebody else comes in.
So the other,
As opposed to, let's put off the benches and do the pressing matter.
And John, we'll leave comments here in just a second. You can answer that, and then we'll open up, see if there's other questions, and then we'll go to the public as well.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to comment.
the other comment or question maybe you had, maybe it's more of a comment. Why not put the $3.9 million of federal fund to Maple Street? We can't do that. If this project doesn't move forward, then we would need to notify our WAMPO saying that this project's not moving forward. It would go back into the pot and then it could be redistributed. And it might not come back to the city of Wichita. And it might not, it would not go to Maple Street due to the timing of the project. So I just wanted to. address
Well,
that.
at least
So
at one point.
to clarify that point,
Yes.
basically on the WAMPO funds, you have to apply for those and get approved from them ahead of time. So you're saying you can't just move the project because the other project hasn't been approved yet through.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? One question I have before we open to the questions from the public. What about this plan changed from the June meeting to today's meeting, if any?
Nothing. We just wanted to provide additional information of when it was programmed in the capital improvement program, the other studies, and I don't know that, and it did go to DAP 6, and they approved it, but so. Yeah,
Now, we'll
nothing
open up-
has changed.
Thank you. We'll open up to questions first and then comments after. So if you have a question for staff, you have comments, hold them. If you have questions, go.
I've got a few questions. I did a survey on that block, 3 blocks, and there were 24 trees were either the exposed roots where they were within 2 feet of the existing sidewalk. And that seems like, does that mean that 24 trees are going to be removed?
I think we had identified about 6 to 12, maybe.
Right. There's
we have a certified arborist on our design team who has walked this project, looked at all the trees already. And when we get to the design phase, we will look at that. And, you know, if we have to jog the sidewalk around, we're not just gonna pick a line and mow down. We are going to work on the tree, work with the trees.
Okay, on the Seneca to Expo Park, there was a right turn lane, like where the quick trip is and things like that. Is that gonna be marked as a separate lane?
It is, so you'll be able to, if you're eastbound or westbound on Douglas, east of Seneca, you could, travel that outside lane. But we would sign it, we'd have probably a couple signs there between Dodge and Exposition to notify people that the right lane must turn right, because we're trapping you in that lane.
Okay, so you said that you were going to widen the sidewalk for the trail when it goes across and then across the street. How wide are those sidewalks gonna be?
Typically, we do 10 feet on those.
Okay, 10 feet, which gets me to 10 feet. Are the lanes still 10 feet wide?
Yes, they are 10 feet wide, yes.
Okay.
Which is a little bit narrower than what we typically do. We'll do 11-foot through lane and a 12-foot center two-way left turn lane. These are proposed to be a 10-foot through lanes and 11-foot.
I'm gonna have comments, so I'll save that for later. And one last question. If you're planning to reduce the speed limit from 35 down to 30, wouldn't that have a calming effect?
It does.
It does,
Would
but
that be
well,
would that be a $5 million cheaper way to get
so,
traffic
well,
calming?
as you know, people do, folks drive streets as they feel safe doing so. So we can post at 30 miles all day long. If they don't feel that they need to drive 30, they'll drive 35 or 40. They drive it as they feel comfortable driving down the street. That's why we want to put in the curb extension so that it does narrow that, and it does, force, but it helps, lower the speeds to the 30 miles per hour.
Those are my questions. Thanks.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'm not here for this. But if you can go to that slide, please, where you see the raised sidewalk. It's pretty close to me.
It's back, there you go.
Okay, so I grew up in that house.
Oh, sorry.
I've been there for my whole life. And I can tell you one thing, you get a 4-inch of rain, our basement flooded forever.
Really?
I had 2 sisters get hit by cars. So this is long overdue, as a person that lived there and knows that area like that. So, but I'm not here for that. I'm just making a comment about it.
Thanks for being here. Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, have you considered the fact that if you change it to 2 lines, those, when we change the McLean, sometimes the McLean Street, that one that is in the park is closed. And then a lot of people has to go around to go to from the north to the south, from the west to the east. We have to go like this. And then it has been a problem with the traffic in the peak hours on Maple. I don't know about Douglas, but I have been on Maple and Meridian and Seneca. It had got like this really badly. So if you change any of those streets to 2 ways, like right now on 31st, 31st over here on Meridian, it got a little bit crazy on the peak hours, and we never had it before. I know that we have trouble turning around because for the traffic, but on those streets, I'm concerned about that. Have you been thinking about that?
Well, in essence, I think people are driving at 1 lane each direction now. I think you could pass. So we will maintain those, but we are creating the center 2-way left turn lane for vehicles that want to turn left at the end of those driveways. So they'll be moving out of the through lane. So I think the 3 lane will work better probably than what it is now, because it's getting the left turn vehicles out into their own lane.
I saw Christopher's hand back there.
Christopher Parrish, the Land on Neighborhood Association president. To kind of address the comment here, from Meridian to Acquisition Street, Douglas is already 2 lanes. It's marked that way with parking on either side. People drive it like it's 4 lanes because Douglas is so wide, and very few people park on the street because they don't want their car rear-ended. So part of the reason for the bump out is to protect the parking and slow down the traffic to some degree. The only section that's currently 4 lanes is from Exposition to Seneca, and that will remain 4 lanes from what we've seen of the plan. As far as the drainage and stuff like that, as he's pointed out, it's needed. And yes, it's needed on Maple as well. I live half a block from Maple, and I deal with my street being a lake.
Christopher, do you have a question? And then we'll go to comments.
I will bring the question. I get a lake if we get just the slightest amount of rain. So I understand the questions and concerns with that. My one question, and I've been asking this through the whole process, is why do we have to have the north-south part of the bike path on Elizabeth instead of Marks? Because with moving the light towards Marks and putting it at that corner, I don't know if you can go back to that slide. It makes sense to have the north-south part of the bike path just simply go straight down Martinson. And then that eliminates half of the 10-foot wide sidewalk, which might be a concern. Although most of those 2 blocks are already business and already have fairly wide sidewalk, except for maybe in front of New Way.
Well, I think we can look at that again with that other. I'd have to look with Trans Systems for that other phase of that. It's marking on the street, so if it makes sense to go to Martinson instead of Elizabeth, I think we can make that change, but we'll look at that.
I'm just gonna say about the parking, you know, cause I live on Douglas, I live right on Douglas, and I mean, people park in front of my house, or people come visit me, they park in my house, I don't think it needs to be put back in, or people, you know, someone comes and stays the night or something, they park on the street, I mean, everyone knows you can park on the street. I mean, like, I don't really see, I don't have much yard as it is. So expanding the sidewalks, making big, you're taking my yards away, you're backing everything up towards, now I got the street a little closer to me, you know what I'm saying? You can put how many lines you wanna put on the thing, but people are gonna drive how they wanna drive, like you said. I mean, no one's gonna obey the rules of the way they're gonna do. They're gonna drive 40 miles an hour if they wanna drive 40 miles an hour. They're gonna do wheelies down the street, they wanna do wheelies. Like, I live on Douglas, I like it. It's all right, you know? Like, I don't know why we gotta come in here, we gotta change the exterior of everything. Like, why don't you just leave it, you know?
So
The way it is, it looks
yeah.
nice, old.
I
I don't really have a flooding problem. I don't have a traffic problem. I don't see very many wrecks. I mean, I live on Douglas. I see this. I live like a block and a half from Meridian. I get backed up on Fridays, but that's because everyone's trying to get home and go do whatever they're trying to do, you know? I just don't understand why you gotta have all this stuff. Now I'm gonna have to sit with construction in front of my house for 9 years, and I don't want that. So 9 years in here, that shit rattling in the head, sorry for the language. I don't wanna do that. I gotta work early or late or whatever.
Do you have a question? Otherwise, we all get over.
That's it, go for it, that's it. That's all I'm
I was
saying.
gonna-
Get hot.
So I didn't do a great job of explaining that. So the existing street width right now won't change much. Maybe kick the curbs out, maybe a foot on either side. So where the curbs now, maybe move out. So the amount of green space you have now pretty much remain. What we are doing at the intersections is bringing that curb extension out to clearly define the parking so that people feel safer to park out there.
I got you. But you can only park so close to an intersection anyway.
Right,
So
and
why would you have to-
we've accounted for that in those curb extensions, so you could butt right up next to that curb extension, so, yeah, yeah.
So why do you need to move the sidewalks up to our porches?
We wouldn't, we just.
Yes, you will. I'll show you when I get my turn to talk.
Okay, all right, okay.
Now, the moment we're all waiting for, we'll open it up to the public. Everybody has 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. And I'll be pretty tough on the 3 minutes, not knowing how many people are gonna speak. So first come, first serve, whoever wants to. Go on.
Everybody all at once?
Yes. Nobody has comments? Yeah, okay, now we do. Great, good job.
All right.
Okay. Start with you. Thank you for coming. Name and address for the record.
Only got 3 minutes, so I gotta go fast.
I won't start it till you get up to the mic.
You gonna lose your wrought iron fence?
I'll probably have to move that.
Oh,
I hate to put it in.
that's not good. That's
Oh, gee, he's the homeless guy from Panhandle in Port.
Okay, I'll start your time now.
First picture,
Name and address for the record, please.
Alan Holloway, 2304 West Douglas. The first picture in the packet is where Armstrong Land Surveying put my property post. The pin's right there. That's on the east side of the property. The west side pin is where they Armstrong Land Survey put the pin. And this is Douglas on the right, on the second picture, and the left. And then the third picture is a twine pulled between the pins and snapped down on my sidewalk. That's where the sidewalk's gonna begin. And it's gonna go back out 6 feet. And the fourth picture is the tree canopy looking east. And that little flag is measuring from the center of Douglas. When I measured from the line up at the porch and measured the other way, it was about 1.5 feet to the south. So every tree between Clarence and Meridian on the north side of the street is gonna be gone. You look at the next picture, it's on the looking west from my sidewalk. And the sixth picture is a little different angle where you can see the canopy and the trees. And there's only about 8 feet between the sidewalk and Douglas. And the last picture is a different angle of all that canopy, and it's all gonna be gone for 4 blocks. It's gonna change the whole neighborhood. Okay, and the next question I got, we've got an 8-foot driving path down the center. You got the center turn lane. We got an 8-foot driving path and an 8-foot parking path. A Silverado is 81 inches wide, so that leaves 15 inches. You split it in half, you got 7 inches. You got to be driving down that 7 inches. You're going to be in the turn lane, or you're going to be hitting cars that are parked in that parallel parking space. An F-150 is actually 95.7 inches. It's wider than that 8-foot lane. And then you get an F-250, it's 105 inches. You can't drive an F-250 down that 8-foot lane and keep the mirrors inside that 8 feet. And now you got a C-2500, it's also a GMC or a Chevy, it's 105 inches. It's out.
We are at time. You want to wrap up this last comment?
Well, I got a whole other list, but.
Are there any questions from the board?
Can I say one last thing? The NACTO, National Association of City Transportation, recommends a lane width of 10 to 11 feet for a city bus. And they recommend, that's with an offset, whatever an offset is. And they recommend 11 to 12 feet width when it's configured curbside. So we don't have enough. Where's the bus stop's gonna be?
John?
So the third picture here, the one where they took the chalk line and snapped it across your walkway with the brick on the sides.
Yeah.
Have you received the notice that they're using eminent domain to seize your property, or?
No, they haven't, but I believe that where that's twine is snapped, that's on the 50-foot. I believe that's probably 50 feet.
So they're using an easement, basically.
Easement to get there. But when I did some measurements from the center out, I was coming up about 1.5 feet short. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to measure on Douglas because it's got the curvature and the curve. So I think they could come up short when they start to do.
We'll have staff respond after everybody's comments because I imagine there'll probably be a lot to respond to. So just keep notes of which ones you're supposed to respond to, please.
And when you said 12 degrees are gonna be gone, that can't be correct. Look,
Yeah, in a second. Any other questions for Mr. Hall?
that's all.
John?
I'm just curious, how many here, just by show of hands, are here to oppose, and how many are here in support? Opposed and in support? Okay.
Next comment? Next question. Yes, over there.
Will Hayes, we've got, I believe, 7 properties in Delano. Getting ready to do, improve 3. Anxious to do 3 others at Exposition and Douglas. We like the benches, we like the improvement. I think the city invested heavily in Delano, and it proves everybody wants to come to Delano if you can find a spot. Yeah, I just want to thank you and be an advocate for it.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah. This woman, and then up to you.
Hello, my name is Sydney Kraus. I live at 2301 West Douglas Avenue, right across the street from you. So I'm not too happy to know about this because we just bought this house less than a year ago. And we liked how it was kind of older, it had character to it, and this is totally reconstructing the whole area. I personally don't care for benches or people sitting near my house or taking away from how far the road is from our house, because it doesn't matter if you do spread the road wider. People and motorcycles going to near downtown, it really doesn't matter. They're gonna go the speed they want because this is a road that's not as busy as getting to downtown from the highways. I just don't, again, also the construction, he's our neighbor, and it's already so noisy, and then having to deal with all of that through the next, I don't know how many years it goes to plan. And I don't know, we just haven't really seen any problems other than people speeding, and that's why we're in wreck. So those are my main points, but altogether, I think that the way that it is why people admire it. And that's why it should stay the same. But if we do have any improvements, it would just be the trees, because I've contacted the Rex department. I even went to the police station to talk to somebody, and I couldn't talk to anybody. They said they had over like a year wait for somebody to talk to us about the trees, because that's what's moving the sidewalks and messing up with all of our plumbing, and it deals with flooding. So if anything, I think the city should just look into helping the community of Delano rather than completely changing it and ignoring our problems.
Thanks for coming, Cindy.
Thank you.
Greg Schmidkins at 2111 West Douglas. And just 2 things. As far as, I did not come here to support or oppose it. I came here to see what the changes were from the last time when it got rejected. So that, you know, I didn't come with a predetermined approach. And then the comment was, just like one of his comments, you know, I asked about the 10 feet because I know that 10 feet was identified as a concern in the last meeting. So those are the 2 things I've got.
Thank you. Everybody else? Yep. If you can come up to the front.
Yeah, I own a small shop in South Seneca, and this tomorrow we tried to change the zoning on the south side to commercial. And I already talked with the neighbors and all of them, and before that, the he bought the houses.
Is it for this case now, or are you speaking about another one later today?
Which one?
Are you
Okay, I'm
speaking,
waiting, it's my turn or not?
are you speaking about this project currently?
No.
Okay, then, hold on till a little bit. We'll call you back up here. So, thank you though. Yeah, we'll call you back up.
Next project.
Yeah. We have other stuff to talk about. Okay. This gentleman's already come up and then we'll have you next.
Hi, my name is Joe Foster and I live at 2403 West Douglas. And I came here last time because of the fact that I opposed of them basically changing the canopy of the area in the residential area where we currently live now. The two other factors that I opposed last time, and I still adamantly oppose this time, is, we're talking about the traffic calming. You're not calming any traffic. What he's doing is he's eliminating on-street parking, 50% of the on-street parking. Those the little calming pop-outs there, they do nothing. They don't stick out in the roadway. You've already removed 50% of parking on one side of the street and then reduced parking to about 30% on the other side of the street and replaced it with the green thing. Well, my problem with that is now we're living in a time where we have Amazon trucks, we have trash trucks, we have buses. Where are these things going to park now that you've reduced it to 2 lanes? And adding the third turn lane in a residential area is just adamantly ridiculous. Look at what has happened over on Meridian Street, from Meridian to Central Street, where they put in that turn lane. All that is a place for people to pass. And the traffic is just more and more congested. I live there. And like I said, trash trucks in the morning, they've got to stop. And like I said, you've taken away their parking spot. The same way with the city bus. You've got a city bus coming down there. We're always talking about transit, use transit. Where are they going to park? Where are they going to offload and unload? I don't think that any of that was taken in consideration. But anyways, that's my objections. Thank you.
Anybody else to speak about this? Yes, ma'am?
I'm Sandra Schmidtgens, 2111 West Douglas, and I just wondered, did anybody consider, can any of these goals be accomplished by just painting lines, or? Has that been? Pardon?
I brought up that same question last time
Oh, you did, okay. Anyway, I just wondered, I didn't hear an answer for that.
Else? Vince? I didn't see you back there, but I thought you were gonna be here.
Right here. Vince Hancock, Vice President, Helena Neighborhood Association. As the staff did mention, this is a 22-year project that's been planned on. I was not part of the original 2001, but somebody gave me their copy. And I looked through here and there were certain things that they said, this is what we're going to fix. We all agree that there's flooding on Maple, but my understanding is instead of the stormwater from Maple going east to the river, it actually goes north to the river in most cases. Now there I'm asking a question. So they had planned for this 22 years ago, then they came in with it again to have it done in the one that we just did 3 or 4 years ago. This is not a perfect situation. And being an old school Quaker, I love when everybody can agree on the same thing and establish a consensus. But I don't think there's any way to do a consensus. Out of the original 4 plans, Bike and Ped had some changes to one of them and they made some other ways. We have 3 distinct areas. We have a business area, we have a transition area, we have a residential area. And given all of the things going on, we have to establish some ways for bicyclists to get through, for pedestrians to get through, for cars and trucks. We've got homeowners, we've got businesses. So for a giant compromise, I don't think it's perfect, but I don't know if there's a way, if anything can be perfect in this situation. I believe everybody having one or two beefs about it means it's probably evenly distributed. So, and I'd say the biggest thing, Dalton, I know you had a giant concern about the cash, about the money that's involved with this. The surface level stuff, that's the cheap and easy stuff. What's really the money for this, and look what was done on Southwest Street, the real money is in the underground. Getting this stormwater stuff underneath, that's been a problem for at least 22 years. That's when they were identifying it. I think if we can get those last things down on here, then we can look forward, and it's nice to know that they're moving up Maple, because I say anytime two mosquitoes cry together, Maple floods. But you live in our neighborhood, you know about that text. So with that, I'll stand for any questions. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, we'll open it back up. Any other comments? Okay.
Danny Lawson, 518 Vine Street, which is a couple blocks south of Douglas. Just a real quick comment. I know there's a concern about the trees. I'm very much an avid gardener. Every time we have a storm, even this past weekend, our trees are coming down, the branches are coming down. They're old, they're dying. And as sad as it is, some of these need to be replaced, and this is an opportunity to do that, to replace them with younger, healthier trees that are not going to be diseased. They'll be here for the next generation and planning ahead. So I want to save as many trees as possible, but I understand some have to come down because they're going to come down next storm that comes through anyway. So let's go ahead and plan accordingly and take care of them. Like the amenities, this is going to bring to the neighborhood. Delano gets kind of looked down on at times as being I won't say it, but anyway, it gets looked down upon. So I think this will help improve it, because what's happened between Seneca and McLean has been fantastic. And people are wanting to come to Delano now, which it wasn't the case a decade or two ago. I've lived down there, I've worked down there, gone to church down there. I know what Delano used to be like, and it's not that way anymore. And I see this taking us that direction even further, and I support it.
Else?
That I'm Alan Taylor on the advocacy chair for Bike Walk Wichita, here to speak about the Bike Walk Wichita's views on it. I can be reached at 325 North St. Francis. So actually, I agree to a large part with what Vince said. This is a very complicated situation, and it's really difficult to get a consensus on it. But ultimately, I think what the goal is to improve the safety of the area through traffic calming. And in that light, I've all covered the history of the project fairly well. But one additional thing is that this was identified in 2013 Bicycle Master Plan as being a priority area to install bike lanes on both sides of the street. Bike Walk Wichita's mission is to make things safer, and we think that would be the safest way to change the street. Our first choice would be to install bike lanes on both sides of the street. Now, engineering has told us that to do that, we'd have to take out parking on one side, which I realize is unpopular, despite the fact that I've driven down it dozens of times, and there's never more than 7 to 14 cars parked along the entire 1 mile stretch. But so our first choice would be to put bike lanes on both sides. Our second choice, frankly, would be to do nothing. I'm skeptical that making these changes are going to greatly improve the safety of the area for a couple of reasons that I'll get into in a little bit. It would make it safer for pedestrians, but I think it's going to make it more dangerous for cyclists. But we're also told that because of the federal money commitments and so forth, that changes need to be made, and they need to be made quickly. So if this is if there's no choice but to change the street and no possibility of eliminating any parking, then this may be the best that we can do. Again, the ultimate goal really needs to be the safety. So if that is the goal, I think that and to accomplish that, to calm the traffic, I think the city needs to set a goal for that speed that they want. and measure the traffic afterwards to see whether or not that goal is being met. If it's not, then perhaps take additional measures to meet that goal. According to the AAA's Traffic Safety Foundation, the average risk of severe injury for a pedestrian struck by a vehicle at 39 miles per hour is 75% risk of severe injury. At 25 miles an hour, that's 25% risk of severe injury. So there's a huge dramatic decrease or increase in safety from reducing the speed. The speed limit, according to Paul, is going to be set at 30 miles an hour. Unfortunately, that only reduces the risk of severe injury to about 50%. When a person is struck by a car at that speed. So I really think that the goal needs to be to get the speed down to about 25 miles an hour in order to accomplish the goal of safety. And right now, according to the city statistics, about 85% of the drivers, which is the measure that the engineers use, go about 38 miles an hour or less. So, our recommendation is, if this is the only choice that we have, that there be some measurement taken of what the speeds are going to be afterwards, and get that speed down to a safer speed, say 25 miles an hour. If these changes don't accomplish that, then make the changes necessary to do it. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll open it back up to discussion from the board before we hear any motions. So is there a discussion from the board? Yep, Jim?
Can you pull up the pictures of the street? Oh, that right there is a good one. Go to another one. That's a good one. Go find me another one.
You got those three. I think those three are what you got there.
Y'all notice anything in common with most of them pictures? There ain't no traffic. So we're gonna spend $5 million, fix the road with no traffic on it.
Other comments from the board members?
Yeah, on last time, I voted no because large sentiment from the crowd. And when I saw this on the agenda today, I was like, oh, okay, cool. What changes are they going to come with? So why is my vote going to change? Nothing changed, and that's
Becky?
Just thoughts I had listening to people's discussion. Well, first off, I will tattle on myself. I'm a speeder. If you were to look at my driving record, it's quite frightful. From a speeding perspective, I spent a lot of money in our state and city for years. And I am one of those who constantly finds myself like slamming on my brakes after expedition because I automatically speed up when I'm westbound on Douglas. And then I realize, oh, I'm still in a residential area. I hit the brakes, slow down again. But part of it is because I see this wide avenue that rarely has a lot of cars parked on the side, and my mind tells me the speed limit is higher, even though it's not. So I am very much in support of the cutouts and the redesigning the canopy. We're not taking the canopy away. We are redesigning it to make those improvements that for a driver like me, it says, slow down. You're in a residential area where children and pedestrians are at play and at work, and you're not in that commercial district anymore. The project improvements they did from Seneca to McLean helped me to slow down because of the way the street was redesigned. And I feel like a lot of this has a similar redesign. I'll speed up my comments. As far as benches being in the area, I think that was a loose comment thrown out by one of the board members, but perhaps our person can answer. Are benches going to be placed in the residential area in front of people's homes?
Not the resident.
I don't know that we've identified those.
Okay. And I would think, because I believe Ms. Kraus brought up the concern that she presently has with flooding and your drainage in your new home. I think a project like this, in moving the trees and planting new trees, would actually improve the flooding and drainage problems you're having outside of your own home, because it's taking out bad roots from trees that do need to be removed. So that's a plus to this project. Let me see. I think that's all the notes I had. Yeah, anyhow, I'm supportive of the project. I do take into consideration the bike plans. I do wish that there was more accessibility for bikes, but I'm happy with what we've had here, especially because it looks like they put a special bike lane on the sidewalk area, and I'm always pretty fond of bike lanes that are away from the traffic. So, thanks.
Thank you, Becky. Wally, did you have comments?
Well, I got a comment about bike lanes. I was stopped at the intersection of Kellogg and 119th Street by a police officer and given a warning because I passed the bike in that lane crossing Kellogg. Well, that's about 8 lanes wide. And he was over to the right. The officer was real nice and gave me a warning. But apparently there is an ordinance in the city of Wichita that you cannot pass a bicycle in the same lane. So if you take 119th Street north of Maple, all the way to 21st Street, there's a double line down through the middle. And it's single lane. And if you get behind a bicycle, you have to follow it all the way from Maple to 21st Street at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Because there is no place to pave. It happened. It's the same on Tyler Road, north of 21st Street on up. It's the same on 135th Street, all the way through from Kellogg to 21st Street. And to me, a section line road in the city, it should be 4 lanes, come hell or high water. It's total stupidity to make a 2-lane highway as a section line road.
Remember that when we get projects later, further out west. Any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. John?
I'm a property rights guy. I make a motion that we reject this.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. There's no other comments. Motion stands. All in favor of passing motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, let's take a hand vote just for the record. So all in favor of John's motion, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, all in favor or opposed, raise your hand. 2. Okay, so 6 to 2 is the final vote to reject it again. Thank you, staff, for being here. Thank you for all public comment. This was the most public comment we've had about anything this year. So we appreciate you engaging on the issue. Please come back. We meet every month. You can also stay around for all the other things on the agenda this afternoon too. But if you want to leave, you're more than welcome to leave from here as well. So. And then we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is zoning 2023-0043.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna present first, and then there will be public. Yes.
We'll take a brief recess for like 3 minutes. So brief recess. I have to go to the restroom.
Which one, please? Which? Now I wondered about that, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be out here at 8:30.
I know what the years can do. They do that, do to those.
That's where but it sounds like.
Also, you've done more.
It's not that long of a read, it's, I think it's under.
I wanted to have a little bit bigger. How you been? Good. Haven't seen you.
But it talks about the traffic calming measures.
I haven't seen you. You look good.
It's just so interesting the way that I've worked in different cities.
Off the record already.
Nothing.
Hopefully off the record. I'm not elected yet.
I like it. In Austin, we're seeing that transition.
Okay, let's get started again. Please have a seat. Don?
He did. He cut the last.
Nobody sent me.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't have one right now.
Okay, thank you.
You got it? You might be able to hear one. Yeah, and you can sit like right here if you want. I would request the door. I'll put it in. Why for sure? Yeah, so we're on this side, so I can hear on that side. Yes. Yeah.
You have that with.
Okay, let's get started again. Thank you all for robust discussion. Hey, if you have any other comments, please take them out there. Zoning 0043.
Good evening. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Christina Reith. I'm an associate planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. This is case number zone 2023-00043. The applicant is requesting a zone change from B multifamily district to LC limited commercial district to allow commercial uses similar to those uses of the adjacent property, which are also zoned or owned by the same owner. The subject site is 0.21 acres in size and is located at 1222 West May Avenue. The subject site is currently developed with a duplex and a garage. They did submit a site plan to us for the future development, and so the applicant intends to raise those existing structures and redevelop the site as a parking lot to the adjacent neighborhood shopping center. So that shopping center may also be extended onto this property. And so the subject site, it fronts West May Avenue and South Dodge Street and is part of this existing mixed-use corridor along the local street. In this area, we see some moderate intensity commercial uses abutting high-density residential uses in the north and west. Just as a standard requirement for all commercial properties abutting residential properties, the site needs to comply with the screening and landscape requirements on the west side. And a landscape plan must be submitted showing all the required landscaping before the issuance of building permits. Just skipping ahead here, with the case history, there hasn't been any zoning actions on this site. When we talk about the conformance to the plans and policies, so when we look at the community investment plans 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map, this map identifies the area where the site is located to be appropriate for commercial uses. So it's in conformance with the Wichita Future Growth Concept Map. If we look at the locational guidelines of the community investments plan, they serve as a framework for future land use decisions. Approval of the zone change to limited commercial may be detrimental due to the lack of buffer between the residential on the west side here. So residential is all that you see in yellow, as well as that brownish grayish color. So if we do limited commercial, we're not seeing that much of a buffer between the residential and the commercial on Seneca. If the subject site is approved for GO general office, we're seeing more of a gradual transition there. When we look at the Wichita Places for People plan, the requested zone change, at least to limited commercial, is not in conformance with the Wichita Places for People plan. Ensuring development follows a nodal pattern creates a critical mass of activity at the center and transitions in scale and intensity. And that's one of the key goals in the established central area. So skipping ahead here to the recommendation, based upon the information available at the time the staff report is prepared, staff recommends denial of the request to LC limited commercial, but recommends approval to GO general office. So if we look at the zoning map here, everything that you see in Kelly green, not seafoam green, but Kelly green, that's general office. So we're already seeing some general office in the area. So the recommendation that we have to general office is based on the golden rules that we all abide by, and they're the same for every zoning report. I'll just skip ahead here to the last one, opposition or support of neighborhood residents. At the time of the publication of the staff report, staff has received one public comment opposing the rezoning request as it may negatively affect their business. And I believe we also have some folks here who are going to speak on the zoning item as well. This is going to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission this Thursday, so you guys are the first governing body to vote on this item. And let's just scroll down to the photo so we get an idea of what the area looks like. That's the future land use map, identifying it as appropriate for commercial properties. And here are some of the site photos with their captions. And with that, I will stand for questions, and if not, the agent is here to answer any questions that I can't answer.
Is there any questions for staff first? John?
The general office still allows to tear it down to the parking lot, right?
Correct.
Any other for board real fast?
Just a clarification, you had mentioned that general office is planned for the future already. What were you mentioning there?
So they originally requested limited commercial. And general office is a less intense use than limited commercial. It permits less things than limited commercial. So that's why we're recommending general office. Yep.
Welcome, question from the public. In one moment, we'll have you speak. Question?
Okay, you are doing like rezoning or asking for a rezoning for commercial for that side. But how much of the value the houses in the front is gonna change? Because right now it's like residential and residential. And then when you change it to commercial, how is it gonna affect the value of the house in front?
So typically, did you have some question? Oh, okay. So we don't really comment on land value of houses. We comment on the use of the land and how that is appropriate. So I don't have that answer for you at this time.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Yes.
No, sorry, the applicant, sir. The
The applicant, okay.
Kirk Miller, Kate Miller Engineering. If we look at the picture up there, the business on the south side is what the applicant owns. There's a strip center to the north of that, which he does not own, which backs up to what we're proposing to rezone. What we would like to do is, right now you have the site plan that shows the parking. In the future, he may or may not want to expand further west. So what we'd like to do to maybe avoid a future zone change is kind of extend his north property line over to Dodge Street and have that bottom piece BLC so we could do an expansion the rest of the way. And then that north part where there would always be parking, it's GO's fine.
And so the applicant's fine moving from LC to GO.
Right.
They're fine with the denial of LC and the approval of GO.
Yes, just because it's just for parking. I mean, what the site plan shows, but if he did a future expansion to the west, then we'd like to have that LC. So if we could keep that south piece of this property, if we could make it LC and then the rest north of that GO, then he wouldn't have to come back and try to rezone later if he tried to expand it to the west again.
Any questions for the applicant? Agent at the applicant? Okay,
Thank you.
public comment. You're up. You have 3 minutes. If you can state your name and address and just let us know why you're here.
It's Mike Baker's. I own the building 1929 South Seneca. I own it last 13 years and it has nice family addition. You know, I talked with the neighbor. What he have an intention on the south side. He wanna build, he said he claimed he wanna build the office, but did not. He wanna put the building, commercial building over there. This one, he can move his restaurant or his cafeteria, grocery store right there, you know. And on the south side where he bought, he wanna do a parking lot. And again, if he gonna deny me the access road, because I don't have no access from Seneca. If there's any fire, you know, I'm in trouble. You know, there's no access whatsoever. And last 10 years, I pay about $500 to the guy who owned the land. He let me to go through this parking lot to my building, you know. And he did, Mr. Moro, not because he did. I have a picture here, you know. He did several damage in the building, including graffiti, cost me $2,000 this year, you know. And he broke the back door. He did the damage in the ceiling, you know, deliberately. And I have all the documents and I reported it. I made a case for it. And the reason why he want to degrade the value of the building and he want to force my wife, she owned the building, to sell it for her cheap. And that was his ultimate goal. You know, I talked already with Mike Sutherland, next door neighbor. He absolutely refused to have a parking lot next to his house. And the same thing with the other neighbor, which I'm gonna see them cross the street. They don't like it, gonna be traffic jam and gonna be congestion over there. And it's not a good idea at all. But again, as I said, there's no last 50 years, there is access road in the back. And he bought this home, he wanna force us to sell the house by the price which he want. And he did, he pretended like he does good. Like I talked with somebody today, he said he wanna do an office, but it's not, he's lying. He wanna do a commercial building all the way on the south side. This way, he can move his commercial property, his business, the Tapatia, to this location. That's the whole thing. And it's gonna degrade the value of my building if it's gonna happen, something like this. And it's a disaster for us. And again, you know, the guy, he pretend he's a nice guy, but I have a document, what he did, you know, and I can show one of them, you know. Next, he leased, by the way, the restaurant from me, and he leased another location. You see here, this is next to his restaurant that he did. And I reported to the police, you know, and he broke the door too. And this is next to the restaurant. He said, I don't know, I didn't see it. About $3,000-4,000 just to take care of it. He does everything possible to degrade the building, and this is the last thing he did.
I said you could show them too.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things, you know.
It's just went off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Time down.
Here, this is the one. And next to it, you know, and this is next, you know, Lisa restaurant, by the way, too. Next to his restaurant, well, I will see it. It takes about a whole day or 6 days. And next to it, you know, it's a door which he broke, and I have a witness, you know, I had a guy, it's deliberately he broke it. He called us, he said, you guys need to replace the doors, you know. Does everything possible to degrade the building, and again, this is the only access road which we have. We don't have access road from the front. You know, if there's a fire department, they come over, it's approved, you know. And
Well, thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any questions from the board?
I did have,
Which is your business?
Huh?
Can we just have, which is your business? here?
Point on the map.
I own the building,
Which one?
that it was, this,
You own this one?
It's the blue part at the right off the
And
center.
which part is this restaurant?
if it is.
Okay, so you're here. This is that access road you're talking
Yes,
about.
sir.
Okay.
And
This is
there's no
Michael's
access
building.
road.
This is the restaurant.
There's no access road.
Would you like a vowel?
What?
Would you like a
No,
vowel?
this is the back.
Gotcha. Okay, so the only way to get to the rear of your building is
Yes,
this.
sir. See, this is the access.
Now I understand. Thank you.
And did everything possible to call my wife and try to get the surprise.
sir, I have a question for
Uh-huh.
you. So, clearly there has been tension between you and your neighbor, and I'm sorry for that. What has been the result of your police reports that you filed?
Because the first report, he denied to call him, hey, look, the door is broke. He pretend people, they come over and he denied that this issue,
Yes. Yes, have the police investigated your reports?
Not really, police, you know how it goes, they're not gonna come over. We called the cop, they said, there's somebody in front of the door midnight. They said, it's gonna take about 40 minutes to show up.
Right.
Police says, no, they don't respond to this issue, But again, the excess is about 50 years right here. And people, they come over from back, and now, if my tenant, they can go in, if he puts this one here. And I made a mistake, I didn't listen to my wife, which is a dumb mistake. She said, go ahead and buy this access road. I didn't do it, and the consequence, he bought a home, and now he put us under pressure to change it to what they call a commercial zone. And now he's lying, he said he's gonna do offices to make it easier, he's not.
Well, thank you for your comments. Any further questions for this gentleman? If not, you can have a seat and we
Yes,
might
sir.
have more questions.
Thank you. For that reason, I do appreciate you guys refuse the rezoning. Because as I told you, I talked with the Mike Sutherland, next door neighbor. He refused absolutely to do parking lot next to his door. And there's 2 more houses also are gonna get the same result from them. 3 more houses in front of his lot.
Thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
John, you said you had
I just
comments.
have a question for staff.
Yes, sir.
So for staff, yes.
So is there it's so different colors here. Is there a rezoning for parking?
Uh,
Or such a thing?
There is a land use called ancillary parking, and so that would be, it actually starts at, I believe it starts at the multifamily, which is what it's zoned now. But because of the potential commercial development, that's why they're requesting the commercial zoning.
Right, they don't want, but the neighbors don't want commercial. So if we said, okay, we'll rezone it, but only for ancillary, whatever, then he can only build a parking, correct?
So if the zone change gets denied, he could still build a park.
Right, but if we rezoned it for, instead of general office, we approved it to be rezoned toward ancillary parking only.
So ancillary parking is not a zoning change.
Gotcha.
It's a.
That
it's
was
a-
my question.
Sorry.
Is there such a thing as a rezoning that is only for parking?
So I think.
You see where I was trying to find
So
a
just to
creative.
clarify, she's saying that he could build a parking lot right now with no zoning changes if he wanted to.
No, because it's housing.
Parking is by right.
Right, but right now it's zoned as residential, so we couldn't.
It is zoned as residential. He could have a parking lot on there right now, but because he is extending, he's potentially extending his commercial zoning. That's why he's requesting this.
So we could build a parking lot on it right now.
Yeah, because it's multifamily residential, which is like apartments. duplexes,
It doesn't need a zoning change to build a parking.
So he's saying he wants to build a parking lot, but he can do that anyhow.
That's just a little fishy.
Which kind of confirms the other neighbor's complaint.
Would, is Mr. Eduardo or Miss Eduardo here? I think this will be the applicant. There was some accusations made. Would you like to answer those on behalf of the applicant?
I don't know anything about
General office would still allow him to, he couldn't do commercial, but he could do, right?
So he can still do commercial, but it's less, or it's more limited than limited commercial. So think of it as like a soft commercial.
So what are some examples of soft?
What do you mean limited?
So he can have retail general and general office, which I believe the existing strip mall that's there on Seneca, that is commercial, right? Or that's retail, right? Do you know the one?
Yeah, but what do you mean limited, because he claimed he wanna do an offices, which is not. You wanna do a commercial building all the way from the front to the back, is that what you're planning for?
Sorry.
So some of the uses that I can think of that are in limited commercial that are not in general office include like vehicle and equipment sales, so like a car lot. I would have to look at the code and I would have to look at the chart, but that's like the one use that I remember.
So could it be a car lot?
It could be.
It
Yes.
could be.
If it was zoned limited
Oh,
commercial,
but not.
but
geo.
they would have to apply for a conditional use on top of that. So, but that is one of the uses that's permitted in limited commercial, but not in general office.
But if all he's wanting to do is what is, as he claims, a parking lot,
He could do it right now.
he can do it right now.
I'll make a motion.
He would need a zoning change.
Any other comments from the board? From the public, Vincent?
Three quick little ones. On the one gentleman's behalf, I can guarantee you if there's a fire in the building, fire's not gonna ask who owns what property. They're gonna do what they need to do. So they're gonna have access no matter what. Brooke, could you flip back to the site plan? Back up. Yeah, well, just right there. I'm concerned that the guy wouldn't have access to the back of his building, and one of the things that's specific in the staff report is it talks about there's no sidewalk on Dodge Street. To me, when you build a parking lot next to a street, the perfect opportunity is to put in a sidewalk so pedestrians can get through there. I don't see that on this plan. So I think that's a mistake, a missed opportunity to help things be more walkable. My 2 cents changes the door.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, seeing that, John is biting at the bit to offer a motion.
I make a motion, we deny the request.
I second.
Okay. We'll give it to June.
Can I put one
Yes,
other
yeah.
comment? Because I do from the Southwest Neighborhood Association too, and I am confident, having become very familiar with neighbors in this area, the neighbors would not. There might not have been residential complaints so far, but I'm quite confident they would not approve of a project like this. And he says he wants a parking lot, he can build it. They're not gonna like the parking lot either, but at least he's already approved for that.
So there's a motion by John, second by June. All in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. So
You guys are awesome.
thank you for staff for coming, applicant.
Thank you.
I say this to every applicant and agent as well. The more the applicant can come, the better chances they probably have before the board as well, so.
And just so I have it in our record, are you a voting member?
Yes.
Okay, so it was 8-0?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Are you also presenting 0040?
Yes.
Okay.
So the applicant for this case is requesting a zone change from SF5 Single Family Residential District to TF3 Two Family Residential District. It's 18.5 acres in size and it's located at 5515 West MacArthur Road. The subject site is currently undeveloped. The applicant has indicated they intend to use this site for duplex development. It is unknown how many duplexes will be developed on the site. Should the zone change request be approved, there will be no change in setbacks, parking requirements, or maximum height. A little bit of case history. On May 11th, the subject site was annexed into the city of Wichita, and there are no zoning cases associated with this property. The requested zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan. When you look at the 2035 future growth concept map, it recommends the subject site is appropriate for residential and employment mixed uses. So what does that mean? So uses of a predominantly mixed nature. Residential housing types within this area will likely be higher density. Duplex development is thus an appropriate use for the area. Based on the information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that the request be approved. This recommendation is based on the golden rules that we all abide by. At the time the staff report was prepared, staff received one comment in regards to the requested zone change, and it's attached to the end of this report. This did go to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on July 27th. And we had one person speak in opposition to the requested zone change, so it was not a consent item. However, it was passed unanimously. And we can go down to site photos if you like. It's a lot of undeveloped land. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Okay, questions from the board?
There it is. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna read the comment.
Well, in reading this comment, like I can agree with the woman, and I realize that that's a city thing that might be separate from the project, but I wasn't sure. There are no shoulders on MacArthur and there are no shoulders on Hooper. And my neighbors are brave and occasionally ride their bikes, but they ride 2x2s so that they can fill up the whole lane. Like I can't ride a bike from my house safely in this area because of that. There's no sidewalks. There's a small sidewalk for about a block on one side of MacArthur Road. I'm all for more development in the area, and I think a development like this would help spur more growth in the area. But what does the city have planned to do about those roads and sidewalks in our area?
Only Paul Gunzelman was still here. He may be able to answer that for you.
That's just a consideration.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
I have a quick question. Why the odd size? Okay, so I know because I travel that road a lot, I like to look at the if since this picture was taken, most of the property that's shown here and even the trees have been totally flat. So that corner is entirely vacant. Yep. Barn, house, the hedgerow, everything. So this property owner does not own that property?
I
Doesn't own the
actually
entire-
keep,
Where's where?
I can't say with confidence.
You own that proposed where the duplex are going?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you own this little corner too?
I'm not sure where that corner's at here.
It's right on the corner of.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you know it's clear.
Oh, yeah, we cleared.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
No, it
will,
was-
I will ask you a personal question later that doesn't have anything to do with paying for this.
That's fine.
Did staff have any more to report
It's
about
just-
this? Okay. Would you like to speak as the applicant?
I must have to. I am, by the way.
We'd like to hear
hey,
from you.
I grew up on 1910 West Oaks, so.
Oh,
Dalton, I know your father real well. Please tell him hi.
Hey, will do.
Friendly.
I do have a question, and I know like it's not going to change your zoning case at all, and just kind of a good faith, because we know like there are duplexes across from there on the other side of Hooper Road. I always have a concern when driveways like if you drive through that road, you can't, because both sides of the street are filled with on-street parking because the driveways and the duplexes are so close together in the place across. And I always feel like it's a safety concern for pedestrians, for children at play, for vandalism and things like catalytic converters getting stolen and stuff like that. So
We live down there as well. So we're familiar, very familiar. My wife grew up down.
So all I would ask is that if we do approve this and you're putting duplexes in there, you're not so tightly as they are across the street. What are your plans for that?
Well, that's my brother's. No, it's in engineering now, and 13 of the 28 acres was commercial. And the other acreage has been We're gonna leave the commercial there for now, and then the other commercial, we're trying to get it. That doesn't answer your question as far as how tight we're gonna pack them. I wish I had the dimensions for you, the size of they're basically gonna be 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. What's in that area?
And if I could jump in.
You know.
So the duplexes that are just north of the subject site, those are zone limited commercial. So the minimum lot size for those duplexes is a lot smaller than the ones that they're proposing here.
Okay.
So the minimum lot size for TF3, which is what they're proposing, is 6,000 square feet per lot. Or 3,000 square feet per unit of a duplex. For limited commercial, I believe it's like, I think it's 2,500 square feet per unit. So that's why they're packed in more tightly. And also the density for limited commercial. So
I see that now.
yeah, so the TF3, you can only have 2 units on 1 lot. Or I think it's like, 2 units per lot. And then for limited commercial, it's 75 units per acre. So for context, yeah.
I can see.
Yeah.
And just about the tree. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same? Okay, there you go, we made it easy.
My first one ever.
It's nothing to do with zoning.
Okay.
I'm a history buff.
All right.
Wait,
There.
let's adjourn for.
Yes, wait, one moment, and then
Make a
we'll.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn, is there any other items from the board? Yes, Wally, we'll take this here in a second, and then Wally wants to bring discussion, we're not adjourned yet, so
Can I ask?
is it about the? After?
Unless he's in a hurry, we have just a few more minutes.
Bet I do.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, Wally,
I got a couple of issues.
yeah,
One of them is the trailer park in West Kellogg. We approved putting the lots on, and they came in there with this great plan of all the things they were gonna do. And we told them, the first thing we rejected it, told them to come back in about a year, make the improvements and come back in a year and we'd look at it. Okay, then they came back with their lawyer and all that, was decided to approve it. Well, that thing hasn't changed. There's still a trailer with no windows right there in the front row. It still looks like hell. And the guy hasn't made one improvement. I think we need to be a lot firmer in our decisions and hold these people to do what they say they're gonna do before we approve these things.
or could we get us like an update on where they're at in the planning and zoning process, that if they've already begun, development changes? That would probably-
Hey, Wally, hey, can I ask a question, guys?
Oh, hello, sir.
Yeah, hey, Wally, remember what we ran into on that, where part of the property was city and part of it was county? Is that on the east side of it that's county?
No, apparently the whole property is in the county. It was the 9 acres on the west side of that was zoned single family resident. It had 19 trailer pads on, which they wanted to add to it. And they come in with this story how they were gonna put these $55,000 trailers in there that were made in Arc City and all this thing. There's not a one of them over there. In fact, the trailer park to the east of there, they've painted all the trailers next to Kellogg. It looks a little bit more respectable. This place still looks like a dump.
It does, I looked just the other day.
That's
And got it back.
That's one issue. And the other thing, Jeff, I'm glad to see you finally rejected a zoning change on that one there that the city council voted unanimously not to accept there for the medical bills. The other issue I have is I recently became a race car owner. Out of default, that the guy that owed me money and so I took his race car.
I can speed them.
Anyway, since I've gotten a race car community, the Wichita International Dragway is going out of business due to the guy that owns it is difficult to deal with.
Reopening next year. I just heard that yesterday.
Well, and what I've heard since I've been in the circle is it's poorly run. And they used to have programs for kids when they could go out and race free on Tuesdays or things and a place that's safe. Well, I find out now that down on West Street, north of 55th Street, there's races down there Friday nights with $25,000 prizes. And I mean, that's, I'm not against racing, I'm involved in it now, but we need to get it off the streets. And we need to get some program, and since you're running for the county that's not in the city, it's out in the county, Jeff, we need to get something to develop that raceway where it's safe and kids can go out there and be trained how to race and be supervised and not down on Southwest Street there. They're all prepared. They have lookouts for the police and all this stuff. Everybody loads their trailers and takes off. And a lot of the cars aren't even street legal. Mine's not.
Okay, I appreciate that, Wally. We did have a crackdown there on Hoover. And if you remember, we even ticketed spectators and we'd arrest spectators for it too. So I didn't know about what's going on down south. I think what we did is we moved it then and we moved it out of the city into the county. So I'll coordinate with the sheriff and see what we can do there.
Well, it's not I don't feel it's a police issue. I don't care where you go. There's been drag racing since I was 15 years old. And it's gonna happen. There's a lot of enthusiasm around it. They're just gonna move somewhere else. We spend $6 million for a pickleball court. We need to spend some money to get these kids off the streets and a place for them to race and be trained how to race and do it safely. Get an old ambulance there or something, put it out there, or a fire truck that we sell or give to somebody, put it out there where we have safety and things to do this right.
Any other comments from the board? Jeff, do you have anything for us? Councilman?
Hey, I appreciate you guys staying in here long, and I apologize I wasn't in there. I've got a kid deal that I've got to be a part of here this evening. But I do appreciate the feedback on West Douglas. I'm going to go back to staff. We had similar feedback on Saturday morning. People were very frustrated that we just came out and we just showed you our plan again. And we showed you that staff didn't listen to any of your recommendations, and it just came back with the same plan. So I'll be carrying that back to staff tomorrow.
Okay, John, you had a motion?
I renew it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Okay, we're adjourned.
All right.
See you tomorrow.